Hey everyone, this is Greg with Crossing Jordan Ministries, and I have my good friend Eddie Colley on the phone with me here. And Eddie lives in Swannanoa. He's got his real estate office in Black Mountain. And all the news that I've watched, I have barely seen anybody. Actually, I have not seen one person yet from this particular area. Everybody that I've seen is in Asheville. And Eddie's the one that sounded the alarm for me that I made this video. He's the one that alerted me to all the destruction that was going on up there. So, Eddie, man, I want to let you do the most talking here of anything. Thank you for being on the air with me to talk about this problem that's going on up there. Tell our listeners, man, a little bit about what in the heck's going on, as far as like what you experienced when this storm started, what you've seen, and what's going on up there right now.
Yeah, hey Greg, it's good to talk with you. I appreciate you reaching out. I think the more that we can get out to the public, the better, because as you mentioned, from what I understand, I don't think there's not a lot of news coverage going on about our area anymore, if at all. But we're not able to really keep an eye on that because we don't have power still. This is day 6. We don't have water. If you don't have a generator, you really don't have anything. Cell service, for whatever reason, almost feels like they're turning it on and off at leisure. We just have SOS on our phones. My wife and I are actually coming back from Winston-Salem right now. We drove down with all of our neighbors' gas cans and propane tanks so we can refill everything. There are some gas stations that are starting to pump gas now, but the lines, as you can imagine, are a mile long. So we had to come this way anyway, so we figured we'd fill everything up. But yeah, it was, total destruction is a good way to put it. I heard one of the local political officials here use the word biblical proportion. This is just something that has never happened in this area. I've talked to people that have lived here over 75 years, and they said they've never seen or heard anything like this. When you've got rivers that are typically 40 feet wide, expanding to 3/4 of a mile wide, they're flooding out houses that were not even in the floodplain. They weren't supposed to flood ever. And they not only did they get flooded, the water was over their house, and in many cases, the houses aren't even there anymore. I think the Swannanoa River alone crested at 32 feet, which is a good 15 to 18 feet above any of the roads and bridges. So the bridges that are still standing, the roads on either side of them are gone. So access, we still only have one way in and out of the area that we live at in Swannanoa. But just all the businesses along 70, all the way into East Asheville, down through Biltmore, heading towards the Biltmore estate. There's a Grand Bohemian restaurant and McDonald's across the street from that. All that was completely underwater. The Lowe's off River Road. There's U-Hauls from the U-Haul store up the street that are in the Lowe's parking lot. It's to say utter devastation. To see the videos that are coming out of the aftermath, people walking around taking video of still 4 foot of water in their house, saying this was never supposed to happen. 24 hours after it hit, we were able to walk down our street a little bit to the water's edge, and they were still doing roof rescues with elderly people on top of the roof. People aren't able to get to them. Houses are floating by. It's just something that you can't even really describe. We've helped people in other states before with natural disasters and floods, but never ever have we ever needed that assistance on our end. So it's really kind of hard to fathom and to put into words.
It is. And I know we're good friends, man. I met you when I lived up there in North Carolina. I was there for 3 years. I know you used to do the part-time fire department job, and the police officers. You're a bigwig up there. That's why I'm glad to have you on the phone, because you're probably one of the most influential people right now to get online here that is in Black Mountain and Swannanoa, where from all the damage I've heard and seen from the TV, seems to be that area is the worst. Montreat, Black Mountain, Swannanoa, Chimney Rock. From what I'm seeing and hearing, it seems like there's utter destruction everywhere, all over the place up there. What were you involved with the fire department or anybody rescuing people up there?
Not directly involved, and I want to give the local responders, fire department, police department, all the credit in the world, especially all of the linesmen that came in from all parts of the East Coast, really. We stopped over at the fire department to talk to the police chief to just make sure that the rescue station that we were going to provide out of the KW office front door wouldn't impede any emergency traffic, and he gave us the heads up for that. But I talked to my buddy Bobby Davis, one of the chiefs at the Black Mountain Fire Department, and I could just see it in his eyes. Those guys are exhausted. I will let you know that it was just announced on social media yesterday that the Fairview Fire Department did lose one of their firefighters in a swift water rescue attempt. So, keep the family and the Fairview Fire Department in your prayers. But yeah, you mentioned Bat Cave Chimney Rock is a really big tourist attraction. From what I understand, that entire city's gone, just gone. I can only see what images I've been able to see, but from everybody I've talked to, it's just gone. Old Fort, down the mountain from us, is apparently also completely destroyed. Hillman Brewery business was washed out. All the houses along the river, most of them are just gone. I think there was a lot of people seeking shelter in a local school in Old Fort, and I think that got flooded. It's my understanding that a lot of those people didn't make it. So I don't know what to say about that.
Now, we're hearing, I know the news media right now, as of today, they're saying the death count's like 160, but there's still lots of people that are missing. And I did see a report from the Mission Hospital in Asheville saying that they're not able to really let people know the death count yet because they can't find who these other people are to contact before they make it public. There are some reports that there's thousands of people dead up there. Do you think that that's actually accurate, or is this just being exacerbated?
Well, I don't want to add to any, hysteria, and I definitely leave that information up to the local authorities. I do believe that number is drastically low. I think that there'll be a number of confirmed dead that they can confirm because the bodies have been recovered. I think what's going to end up happening is there may just be an untold number of just missing people. Because a lot of these communities where there used to be, mobile home parks or even housing communities that were completely underwater or the houses are gone, we're talking, anywhere between 4 feet and 10 feet of silt, rock, gravel. So there's no telling when or how they would ever be discovered, but how far into a different county or different state they've washed out to. I do think that number is going to rise. I mean, I think that it's possible that we could hit that number you just mentioned just in our little area of Swannanoa alone. I've got a family member that lives out in Burnsville. A lot of devastation out there too. And he said Yancey County, as of 3 days ago, said that there were over 100 people dead just in Yancey County. So that number is going to drastically change, and I'm not sure that they'll ever really know or be willing to release what that final number could actually be.
Now, I know the eye hit here at night, like at 11 o'clock at night in Florida when it came in. And then when I woke up in the morning, I saw that the storm was like halfway up Georgia. When do you guys recall when the worst damage was? Was it at night when you were starting to see this really bad? Or what's the time frame of when this started and how bad it got at the timetable?
Well, I think what kind of led up to this being so bad is we had an upper level disturbance for the 48 hours leading up to Helene. So we had received almost 10 inches of rain while Helene was still in the Gulf.
Wow.
We were already getting a ton of rain. Helene slammed western North Carolina at about 6 a.m. We were actually sitting on our back porch kind of watching it blow through, just in awe of the wind gusts and what it was doing to the trees. So between 6 a.m. and probably 9 or 10 a.m. were the two, with the 3 or 4 hours that were the worst. That's when all the trees came down. I mean, downtown Black Mountain looks okay as it relates to the businesses, but any side street you try to go on, they're totally impassable with the number of trees down. I mean, if you want to talk about numbers in the thousands, just Black Mountain alone's got at least 1,000 trees down, which took out all the power lines. Montreat, because that dam broke, all the bridges leading up into Montreat, all those are gone. But yeah.
So Montreat actually is a really important one that I wanted to ask you about as well, since you said that. I've heard that there was. I've seen nothing on the news on it, which I'm kind of surprised. I've seen nothing on social media. I've never seen anybody back in Montreat. Maybe they're blocking it so nobody can go back there. But I heard that the mudslides came down and they've washed away almost everything back there. All these houses are destroyed. Is that true? What have you seen? What do you know about back there since you're right there on the spot, man?
I haven't heard of any massive mudslides in Montreat. We drove up to try to inspect the dam to see if the dam truly did fail, because we had a lot of conflicting reports about the dams and reservoirs breaching that were not the fact, that weren't the case. But I couldn't get close enough to even see the dam because the road was gone. I did see video of homeowners that lived there where there were rivers running through the office buildings for the conference center and the college that weren't even where the river was. So rivers rerouted themselves. The Flat Creek River is no longer in the riverbanks. It's now where Flat Creek Road used to be. So a lot of the rivers have just rerouted themselves into all new locations. I don't think that there was a ton of infrastructure damage to buildings in Montreat due to landslides, but definitely roads. The main water supply to Asheville comes up through the North Fork Valley into the Burnett Reservoir, and I think the primary and secondary water lines were completely washed away. So they're doubling the efforts to put in a new temporary line right now just to get water to half of Black Mountain and pretty much all of Asheville.
Wow. So no power.
But I think it's important. I was just going to say, I think it's important for people to continue to, pray for Western North Carolina, but to also continue to donate to all your trusted, sources, American Red Cross and, Samaritan's Purse and some of the local churches, because we're going to, as the power comes back on, that's one thing, but we're told we may not have water for upwards of a month. So while it looks like there's tons of cases of water at the distribution spots now, if we're having to do this for hundreds of thousands of people for the foreseeable future, if people start to forget and the donations start to slow down, we'll just be in another bad situation again. So I just want to implore people to continue to contribute where they can contribute, and just to be careful that they're not getting scammed by somebody and they're giving money to people that they shouldn't. There's always gift card frauds. So if somebody's reaching out to you and saying, hey, donate $50 and we'll send a gift card to Western North Carolina, the gift cards are always a scam. So take a step back and really evaluate, where you're giving.
It seems like Samaritan's Purse is the best from what I know, because they're right there on spot, man. I know they have their big headquarter office up there in the Cove. And I know some people from their family, because you used to go over by Billy Graham's house in Montreat. What can you tell me? Do you feel like Samaritan's Purse might be the best operation up there right now? Because the local people, a lot of people aren't going to know those churches, and the Red Cross is hit or miss. I don't know if I would tell the Red Cross first or if I would give to Samaritan's Purse first. What are your thoughts on that?
I think both of those are trusted and reputable. Samaritan's Purse might have a bigger impact locally because of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association that's local. I actually did go check on Billy's first home, his original home up in Montreat, because I still manage that with my property management company. So for the new owner, I went and checked on the house. The house is okay, no tree damage, no water damage. But that's about as far into Montreat as I can get. But yeah, so either one of those two organizations are great choices.
You used to have a house over there going towards Montreat on the right there. What happened with that house?
I didn't go down that street. It's actually on the same street as Billy Graham's house. So yeah, I grew up, riding my bike and skateboard on the same road that his house was on, probably no less than 300 yards away. So I think that's pretty cool.
When you talk about the power, though, from what I understand, a lot of the flooding that's happened has actually ripped telephone poles right out of the water and they're gone. How are they going to get this back in 30 days when they got to get, I don't know what the number is, man. They got to go through and fix stuff everywhere up there. Correct?
Yeah, they're just stringing new lines. There's a ton of tree crews getting the trees off the lines. so the linemen can run new lines. And that's why I think Swannanoa might be the longest without power, just because you're right, all the power lines and power poles were basically taken out by the river because they were along the streets, and the streets are gone. So they're going to have to run all new. It's not like just repairing a line that's down because a tree crossed it. The poles and everything are gone. Half of them are snapped in half, so you'll still see the transformer and the lines hanging up in the air, but the pole's out from underneath it, or vice versa. I did talk with Chuck Johnson, one of the Keller Williams agents in Hendersonville, who they also got hit really hard. He said he's never seen lines crews put up new lines so quickly. He's like, there's a crew with the guys drilling the holes, and right behind them, somebody's dropping in a pole, and then the guys are right behind them lining them up. So they're moving real quick. So we're real grateful for that.
Well, thank God for that. That is good news to hear that, man. Huh.
And it took 4 days for that to start happening. And that's more likely just because they probably couldn't access a lot of these areas still. But now that the water's receding and we've got some clearer weather, they're able to really get out there now and get some work done. But you know, you got to remember, for 48 to 72 hours after the storm hit, there wasn't really a whole lot you could do because you couldn't go anywhere.
I know the other big thing is your business. You're a real estate agent, and you're a bigwig up there. You're probably one of the biggest ones up there in the Black Mountain area. What do you think this is going to do? I mean, there's thousands and thousands of homes that are destroyed all over the place up there. What's going to happen with a lot of those people? Have you talked to anybody? Are they going to stay there? Do you think a lot of people are going to move out? I mean, you're talking years to recover from this. I don't know where everybody's going to go live when they got to get new houses completely built from ground up out there. And I don't know what the government's going to do with all that either. Right? What the heck can you say about that?
That is a great question. I mean, I think predicting what the real estate market's going to be like in any situation is always difficult to do. Yeah, there are a lot of people that are displaced and homeless now, but those people may well have also lost their job. So how are they going to get financial approval to go buy another house? We also had really, really high or low vacancy rates in our rentals. So there was not a lot of empty homes sitting around for these people to be, housed in if they needed to be. I would encourage, we're getting a lot of cancellations through our property management company for later in the year, like late October, November, January, even as far as next April. I would encourage everybody, if they can, to please keep your reservations for those far out stays. We're going to have power back. We're going to have water back by then. Our areas are going to need that economic stimulus of travelers to come and continue to stay and vacation here. We still have beautiful mountains and beautiful parkways and beautiful waterfalls. So I don't know what it's going to do to the real estate sales market. When COVID hit, we were preparing for basically a real estate shutdown, and the reverse happened. So I'm not sure if the same thing is going to happen with, this storm or not. But I'm definitely worried for, the agents in the area and their futures, because, as you know, that's 100% commission. So if they're not selling houses, working with buyers and sellers, there's no income coming in. So again, continue to give where you can. Hopefully there'll be some government support and financial support for not only realtors, but just everybody in the area. But I appreciate you asking that question. I'm honestly not quite sure what's going to happen with the local real estate market.
You were actually trying to, you had a Venmo where you were trying to raise some funds for yourself, I guess, correct? Or your business. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what that would entail and what it would cover?
So I just asked my assistant to put something on our Facebook group, because we've got so many wonderful past clients that typically what we'll ask each year is for donations for what we call our turkey brigade. We feed upwards of 60 to 80 families every year Thanksgiving meals, and that's fully funded by our past client database. So I just wanted to shoot out another quick Venmo opportunity for them to give if they could. And that money is going to go to some of my employees, but I was really thinking about the other agents in my office too that could very well go without paychecks for quite some time. So I'm just trying to collect a little bit of money, and I'm going to try to distribute that to the agents in my office. We're running about 40 agents in my office, and I've got a small office. Our Asheville Market Center's got closer to 350 agents. So yeah, it's going to be wide sweeping, and I know whatever I can get will be a drop in the bucket. But every dime counts, and yeah, I'm going to get that distributed out to as many of the agents as I can. It's definitely not just for me.
Is there as much help up in Black Mountain and Swannanoa as you're seeing in Asheville, or do you think that there's still a lot of help that's needed out there in Black Mountain and Swannanoa?
I think there's more help in Black Mountain or Swannanoa right now because I think there's more devastation. It's out of a scene of like some apocalyptic. The book 1 Second After is a great way to describe kind of the sense of how it is. There's helicopters flying around, doing airdrops, doing evacuations. Army trucks are rolling through town. Sirens from police officers and fire trucks from counties I've never even heard of. So it's crazy. You know, when they put out signs on billboards that say, come to the town square for an emergency meeting at 4:00 for information update. It's just something that we've never dealt with before. So it's crazy to be a part of. Every day we drive through Swannanoa, and we've been looking at it for 6 days, and we still just are in utter shock of the destruction and then how widespread it is. But no, we've got a lot of military. I think the National Guard basically just got here yesterday, which is great. So yeah, we've got a lot of support from the men and women, law enforcement and fire rescue.
Is there anything that you still need urgently up there that hasn't been provided, whether it's water, food, shelter, whatever? I mean, it's hard without being there. You're just picking up stuff from TV, and it's hard to really put your mind into what's happening up there. Me living there, I know the area a whole lot better than the average person, so I'm in shock, man, with what I've seen and heard thus far, but I still don't feel like I know enough about what's going on up there.
Well, I'd say the longest need is going to be water, drinkable water. Of course, you also have to think about the non-potable water for flushing toilets and stuff. So you're seeing people in the local swimming pools and creeks dipping out water, but the creeks are not safe. If you think the water lines have busted out, so have probably other lines. Natural gas lines blowing gas around, oil tanks floating down the river. So the water is not safe. But drinkable water is probably the most important for the long haul. But we still, for the majority of people that don't have power, they can't keep any food cold. So all the refrigerators and freezers have gone bad. So it's really non-perishable foods, peanut butters and breads and crackers and things like that. But generators, gasoline, diesel, flashlights, batteries, all the things that you would see like if a hurricane hit Florida, which we also have to remember that a lot of people in Florida got devastated with the same storm, but it's pretty much the typical same things.
I know the Ingalls has that humongous grocery store up there. I think it's one of the biggest ones they have, if it isn't the biggest one. What happened over there, and where do they stand on food and supplies and all that?
Well, they were underwater too. A lot of their 18-wheelers are upside down currently along the railroad tracks. That's another thing. All the railroad has been shut down. A lot of the tracks that were washed away. So we haven't had a train come through since the storm hit. I just saw the Ingalls warehouse had power this morning, so maybe yesterday they got it back. But if we lost all of our food in our freezers and refrigerators, they likely did too. From what I understand, they are starting to supply some of the local restaurants with food. Restaurants like the Open Oven in Black Mountain on Church Street, they're walking around handing out hot meals. So I do think they are starting to distribute some of that. We do have some looting going on with some of those stores, especially in the middle of the night. We're seeing a little bit of looting. I don't think it's gotten really out of control yet, and I'm hoping that since some of the power's starting to come back, that will remain the case. But anybody within a quarter mile from downtown Black Mountain or Swannanoa, you're still without power, and you're going to be for a while.
How are you and your family and everybody that you know up there coping with this whole destruction emotionally with the disaster? What's happening there?
We're doing pretty good. I think when you make it through the other side, you realize that your family and your friends, for the most part, are safe. It kind of takes a little bit off. About the third night into it, we probably had the scariest night of the entire event, where there was, apparently it was a fake call in that one of the dams in Swannanoa was in imminent danger of failing. So the local police department was evacuating everybody. And even though we're higher up on the hill, the reservoir is kind of behind where we live. So we were afraid that we were going to get washed away. And that would have, you want to talk about killing thousands of people, that would have happened if that dam had broke. So that was really scary. But thanks for asking. We're good. We've got a lot of supplies coming in from other KW offices around the region, quite frankly, around the United States. So we're good. We have a generator on our house, so we're able to run our well and keep our refrigerator cold. So right now we're doing pretty good. It's just keeping enough gas to keep everything running, honestly.
I still seem to have some concerns with what you mentioned when you talked about the dams, because I know there were some other ones there that were on the verge of also going down. And I mean, gosh, if another storm, another front from the Gulf makes it back up there and drops more rain, even if it's not like this, I mean, what the heck would happen? I don't even know.
Well, it's my understanding that FEMA has inspected all the dams, and all the dams are at 100% capacity and are good to go. So I think we should be safe. The riverbanks are much wider than they used to be. So as of right now, we can handle a lot more water coming down than we used to be able to. But yeah, we don't need that kind of rain for a while.
I know I could talk to you all day, man, with everything that went on. But I'd like to ask you here before I end, call to action. I mean, what message would you like to send to people who want to help?
I would say donate. If you're going to come, only come being prepared to help. Rescue, cut trees, do things of that nature, hand out supplies. Definitely don't want to get a bunch of cars on the roads right now with, onlookers and sightseers. Just send laborers or send supplies or send financial contributions. And obviously keep us in your prayers. I've seen our communities come together like nothing I've ever seen before. So that's been really awesome to watch.
One last question I'm thinking about here before we end the conversation. I have heard that there were, I guess, 400 roads throughout the mountains, and that like 200 to 300 or more. I don't know all the facts. I'm just throwing out what I'm hearing from other people. Are not open. There's trees on the roads. Stuff's shut down. Roads are gone, and that, like, you have Black Mountain, Swannanoa, Asheville, and all that. You guys are all near the interstate and everything, but there's tons of people that are up in the hills and in the mountains and everything. And I've heard there's people stuck up there with no power, roads down, that are trapped and stuck. I don't know if that's true to that level or not. Do you have any info on any of that you could share, or no?
No, that's 100%. Yeah, that's 100% accurate. I would say there's more roads than that are washed away or totally covered. And some of these roads, Greg, they're not just covered with trees, they're covered with houses that have been moved from where they used to be. There are people in Laurel Ridge, to my understanding, as of yesterday, that still can't get out because there are mudslides on either side of their road. So that's why I think they're doing a lot of helicopter evacuations and landings, trying to drop in supplies to some of these areas that people still can't get to. So yeah, I'd say there's probably a considerable number of people that still haven't been reached by medical or rescue.
Yeah, that's what I heard. And I heard that on TikTok from a guy that made a video, and everything you've said is as bad as it sounds with what you said. It sounded like up in the mountains with what's happening with all those people trapped. It sounded like something out of a nightmarish hell movie. It really did, with what's going on up there. I don't know if it's true.
Whatever you're hearing, I would probably say it's 50 times worse.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The devastation is unbelievable.
Yeah. There's no way this is going to be solved in even months. You're talking years and years to fix the damage that's gone on up there. Maybe they can get some power back on in some areas. I doubt it'll be everywhere. But gosh, everything needs it fixed with the roads, the bridges, and the houses and the destruction. I don't know how they're going to fix this stuff anytime soon to that level.
Yeah, I'd say there's probably going to be a good portion of areas that they just don't even rebuild.
Yeah. Well,
but our towns will come together. We're a tourist town. People love to come vacation here, and we can't wait to welcome them back with open arms. So come visit Western North Carolina. Maybe that's the call to action. Not now. Give us a couple weeks.
I know. Well, I think you're going to get a lot of people that are going to want to come up there. I know the churches are starting to wake up to this. A lot more churches are talking about it, and there's a lot of people that want to come up there and help. There's some restrictions about what they're doing. People are saying they shouldn't come. The government's told a lot of people they shouldn't go up there right now. So, but it does seem like the more people that went up there to help, the faster and better it would be. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I just have them check with the property management companies. You know, if the water's back and the power's back and the roads are open. But I'd give it a little while, but I wouldn't abandon us forever, for sure.
All right. Well, Eddie, man, I appreciate the interview. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate your concern and care and reaching out.
I'm going to share this video with as many people as listen to it. I hope we'll get a lot of people that will listen to it, because I know you're ground zero with everything that's going on up there, and it's good to know a lot more firsthand information than what we're getting from the news.